And so it is. Together, we are much better and much more powerful. And so, together, we are here for this weekend to pour even more light than ever before into this realm, to still be doing what we were called to do, to be the extractors of darkness from this realm, to be transmuting, and to bring so much light into this realm and so much love that it is restored once again to be that beautiful realm of the divine feminine blueprint. And whether you are a woman or a man in this embodiment, the divine feminine is the blueprint for all of us in this realm. And so today we will be speaking a little bit about what's happening on planet Earth and what is happening within our own bodies, because so much is happening. As you know, we all probably will find different words to describe what is happening within us. But sometimes when I see what other seers are posting, then sometimes it's astounding that they are seeing exactly the same and they describe it the same way. I always mention a few of those. I like to look at especially Valerie A. Elster on Facebook. And it was just a few days ago when she was posting how she's seeing the energy of the blue rose surrounding the earth. And you know, that's what we saw in June during our event with Oren. And so we even had some graphic for the blue rose. And I know one of you was even wearing a sweater with the blue rose on it. And so Valerie was describing it as the return of the ancient mother. And so we know in this amazing process of ascension, these miracles are just incredible. And so this energy of the blue rose is surrounding the earth. And we are now preparing actually for the rainbow light, which is awakening within us all. As you know, I personally don't like to use the term Kundalini. First of all, it means the coiled one, the dormant one, the sleeping one. And the sleeping of the life force within us is actually not natural, but it became normal. And there is a big difference between normal and natural. So if all of us are asleep in this world, then it becomes normal, it becomes the status quo, but it is definitely not natural to be asleep and yet to think that we are fully alive. To be fully alive is actually to be awake. And we are not speaking about the state of sleep as a human being where we sleep at night. We are speaking actually not even about what people would call just, this person is awake. They believe that there is life in this universe. This person is asleep. They are still stuck in some, religious paradigms or no paradigms to do with any spiritual stuff. But actually, to be fully awake means to have awakened life force within the body and beyond into the subtle bodies. To be asleep is to be Kundalini, to be the coiled one at the base of the spine without any major awakening. So what in the past happened, of course, that this world fell asleep. This happened when we call it the fall, we call it the fall from grace. But another way to describe it is actually the entire world falling asleep. The queen with her queendom fell asleep, which means the asleepness or the sleep of the serpent of light, the serpent of rainbow light fell asleep. And in the human body, she fell asleep at the base of the spine. And what usually in the past, and maybe still for many in the present, would awaken her was a little bit of stirring of some sexual energy. But she is so much more than that. She is the most misunderstood force in this world, especially because of these misleading teachings about Kundalini and what she actually is not. I would rename her and call her Shakti. Shakti, Divine Mother. When she's fully awake within us, she is Divine Mother within. When she awakens within us, she is the fire, and yet she also becomes water. From personal experience, I started to experience Kundalini awakening as a child. So as a toddler and a little kid going to kindergarten, But it's a process. I would say that many of us experienced her much more in our childhood and then much less later, especially through the conditioning of this world, where she was so limited to some sexual stirring of energy as so misunderstood instead of life force that was supposed to be fully awake. But through meditation and through different, mainly techniques from Tibetan traditions like the rainbow body tradition, I started to experience the awakening of Kundalini. And then it happened in many different stages, and sometimes it was full on, and sometimes it was gradual, and sometimes it was really huge. Sometimes it took me out of body, sometimes I remained in the body. So I only speak from experience, which means the experience is, of course, not complete and cannot be, understood as something that applies to everyone. But I will speak from the experience of Kundalini. I think about it as I never attempted to awaken Kundalini. It was never ever my actually goal. And my goal was always to get to know who I am, which means who we are. What is the human being? What is the highest potential? What is this body? What is the mind? What is the spirit? What is the soul? So that was my desire. And so, just because I had these experiences as a child, I was wondering, how do you truly follow a certain path where you remain true to that true self, which is not the false self? And so, my first really huge experience with Kundalini was in childhood when the Kundalini would appear as this rainbow serpent all around me when I was, like 3 or 4. And it was always taking me out of body. But again, as a child, you don't have any concept, you don't have any really true wisdom in this little body here. And so you just go with her flow. So her flow was definitely very radical. It was really so cosmic in her nature, which she is, as she is Shakti, the mother. And so first she was taking me always to this other planet and to be with the family of the rainbow light. So obviously that's a big experience to have again and again and again. But the second really huge experience of this serpent power was through chanting. And that happened at the age of 13 through a lot of chanting from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I was just following, somehow all the chants from the book, and I was sitting upright and chanting. And as I was chanting, just not really knowing at all what to expect, which was the most beautiful, actually, part of it, is that the unexpected happened. And this serpent power not only rose slowly, but she actually shot up through the entire spine. She shot through the crown. She shot beyond even the soul itself. And she shot straight into the spirit. And so, from then later being able to do this a little bit more gradually and not so radically, I understand that when one's Shakti awakens within the spine, she awakens as fire. And then, as she rises or shoots up, whatever she can do, whatever she's allowed to do, depending on our blockages or not, she goes out of the body. And her destiny is to reconnect with Shiva, with spirit. And so the fire actually becomes our water. I experienced this later when I was activating my light body, which is something that we have many of us done with Daben or with Oren, where you actually very gradually work step by step on the awakening of your light body. And so it's a little bit less radical, but it also leads to the same actually experience eventually, depending on how clean our pathways are. And that means she rises. And she rises as a movement. You start feeling the movement of energy. She first goes, of course, from the base of the spine. And the goal is to be clean within. If the pathways are not clean, it's like trying to rise through a chimney and just getting stuck in the dirt that is blocking the chimney. So that then leads, of course, to unpleasant experiences. But when we do all the work that we do, which is a combination of many different practices, it cannot be limited to just wisdom. It cannot be limited to just, for example, meditation without actually cleaning the pathways. It cannot even be limited to just listening to Orin. It has to be a whole approach for the wholesomeness of what we are, which means physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that requires some breathing techniques. It requires the ability to focus, and it requires the actual mastery of moving energy within to be able to shift energies from the first three lower chakras that are really the trap for the serpent. So, for most people in this world, I would say that this serpent power uh, really just stirs within the first three lower chakras. But when we purify the heart, which is a very important condition, the heart must be fully in love. And that's why many of these esoteric traditions, where the true knowledge was hidden and couldn't be spoken fully and openly in the false matrix because it would not survive. We were told to love God with all our heart. We were told to be devotional. But devotion alone is also not the full approach that we want to take here. And yet it is an important aspect of our experience of Shakti. Love is the portal. When the love is so strong, it's actually a physical experience, it's a chemical experience, it's a biochemical reaction within our hormonal system, within our brain centers, within our nervous system, where love no longer is a thought, where love no longer is just the word we say, I love you too. When love becomes energy, that is the Shakti opening. When love is the energy that we feel, and I don't mean exactly just love for another person, especially when we are teenagers and we are full of hormones, misleading actually the energy of what we would call love. But when love is who we become, and ideally without a reason, when love can be the expansion of bliss within our heart center, then that is the call for the Shakti to actually rise. She responds to love. She is magnetic, and so our love magnetizes her to rise. And then she rises through the open heart. And of course, let's say we are filled with devotion for the divine, which is ideal, so that we are not objectifying our love in this world for any actually just objects that could be part of the illusion or people. And when we allow, and that means allowing means surrender, it requires immense stillness, but also sometimes she will move us, which I think where all the sacred movements come from as well, including Qigong and including even yoga, which I'm not so familiar with when it comes to all the postures. But she starts moving, and I would say that these days when she moves, it feels like a spiral is actually rising through our spine. And that spiral keeps rising and rising. And if we allow and surrender, when we trust, when we relax into it, then she keeps going. And when she keeps going, she becomes that cobra that penetrates our crown, and she goes beyond the physical into the non physical to actually then magnetize spirit to her. And so, this is the true meaning when people say that Shakti in Shiva will be dancing upon the crown. It's actually a magnetic response to the universe. From the universe is that the universe recognizes the awakened mother within and simply meets her with the energy of the spirit that we here call Shiva. So this becomes a dance. So that's actually what's happening within us, all of us right now. For some of you, it already happened. Some of you are like right now in the midst of it. And so I wanted to speak about this as the most important, really, ascension news that we have for you here today, that you might be experiencing certain or complete awakening of your Shakti. And so when it is complete, it actually goes into nothingness. And that's where Shiva is. It goes through love into nothingness. But in that nothingness, we become one with the universe, we become one with the cosmos. When we are able to fully, truly surrender and let go, she will take us there. So for some of you, it might happen in the night. Yeah, I think mainly it's happening for people in the middle of the night or when they come from sleep in the morning. I've witnessed so many people around me right now having this experience, family members as well. So I want people to be familiar with what it is. So, when I was doing my light body activation, I think it was around like 2004, 2005. So, I was doing the light body process with Daban, which takes about 6 months. And I truly experienced this awakening of the fire at the base of the spine, which is like a volcano, and it is firing up. So, first, you will have the sensations of heat. And I think about it often like, in sexual terms, for example, people say, like, that person is hot. But now, it means like they look a certain way, but actually, there is heat to this power within us. So, a person might experience inner heat, but that heat might be even experienced in the body, and it could be in the hands, it could be at the base of the spine, it could really be emanating from the body itself. But as this energy rises and it comes out of the crown, it actually is transmuted. This is the real process of alchemy within. Alchemy was never meant to be some kind of external chemistry where we are transmuting certain elements into other elements. It was always esoteric knowledge of the inner process of transmutation. So in this process, the fire actually becomes one with the water. And that's also, if you have the Thoth tarot cards, then you will find the process of alchemy is the coming together of the fire and water within. And instead of them extinguishing each other, they support each other for this incredible process of inner transmutation. So then what you experience when the light body is fully activated is like a fountain that is spraying out of your crown, and it is spraying up, and just like a fountain, the water falls all around you, forming your light body, the body of light. And it also is, of course, light, and then it comes back into the base of the spine, and it creates what we know also in Taoism as the orbit. So the energy is then orbiting. It creates the cyclical pathway which goes up the spine, out the crown, all around, back into the base of the spine, and it's circulating, but at the same time also is magnifying and growing. And the more we can do this, of course, the vaster our light body will become. And so within us is this incredible potential. I am so fascinated, like you, with the highest potential within us. And I have found that this potential cannot be found in the false self. And no matter how intellectual and wise and, educated and learned and who knows what else, eloquent, the false self becomes, the false self will always remain the false self unless this shakti awakens within us and the false self ceases to exist, because the false self can only be sustained within the first three chakras. The false matrix within us can only live in the first, second, and the third chakra. The false matrix actually very often was depicted as a triangle pointing down, pulling us towards the density of this realm through our sexuality, through our attachment to the physical body, through our emotions, very often in response to the false world around us, which means temptation and giving in to temptation, which has nothing to do with what we think it is, but it's the temptation to believe that this world has any power over our spirit. And so that is the second chakra. And the third chakra, of course, is where we identified mainly with the ego self, and we derive power from the ego, or we allow the ego to have power over consciousness, which is not, of course, possible, but that's what became the status quo. And we would again say normal, but not natural. And so, where is the first point of our true power? It is within the heart, it is within love. And this love is so great that today we are gathered here to actually connect with this great love behind all things. So, behind all things, real, not real, seeming or not seeming, on the canvas of this reality, is that great love. the great love of the mother, but also the great love of the father. They are exactly the same love. So, again, when this incredible union happens within us, the false self that was only stuck in the first three chakras of the being actually dissolves, and the control ceases to exist, which control is something the false self actually is attached to. It dominates the being through control. And in that incredible state of surrender, which is letting go, which is allowing, which is just such a deep relaxation required for this to fully happen, the divine self becomes the one in charge. And this process, as you know, because ideally we want to be prepared for something so huge, it's a transformation that is irreversible. And it is also such a huge shift to be shifting from the false self into the divine self. But all of us now in this world are in the same process. So if you work with Patricia Cota Robles, which I believe all of us do, then the last vlog was all about divine love that we have never ever experienced before. A whole new frequency of divine love of the mother, comprehensive divine love. Just a few days ago, for some of you, it was July 11th. For some of you, it was July 10th, depending on your location on this planet. We experience Guru Purnima. And during this process of Guru Purnima, and I will speak in more detail about it in a moment, we actually, as humanity, got to truly experience this new frequency of comprehensive divine love, unlike ever before. And so, just a few days ago, maybe 2 days ago, 1 day ago, we have been through one of the greatest shifts again that recently happened. So, the awakened Kundalini is the Mother Divine, leading the devotee to the highest realization of spirit. We don't say the word spirit without actually fully understanding that spirit is the highest level of our being, the I am presence of who we are. As you know, we often here speak about the different levels of our being, and so the spirit being the highest level of our being. And in between the spirit and this person down here is very often, for most of us, that field of energy, light, and sound that we call the soul, individualized spirit. So there are different levels of our being. And so you see that the awakened Kundalini is the Mother Divine within us all. Some people claim to be Divine Mother in this world, but I would say let's make it a little bit more collective. The Divine Mother is within us all. And it is simply for each one of us to get out of her way so that this rainbow river of love, which she is, but also light, can simply rise. And our purpose here is very simple, not to be in her way. When we are very tense, when we have such big contraction within our being, which very often happens, of course, for the first three lower chakras, they are very contracting. They hold her back so much. Then she tries and tries to rise. And so the more we relax physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the better it gets. And that's why we have the 4 steps Divine Mother gave us, and that is to relax, to let go, to trust, and to surrender. If we can simply follow these steps, we will achieve great emptiness for her to fly and from the serpent to become the dragon she was destined to be. And so she pierces through the many different layers and levels of our being, first in the body, then out of body. And of course, it leads to out of body experiences, to be able to actually go beyond the soul, even, but of course, to move through the soul, to integrate even our soul into our being as great love, to end our reincarnation, and to merge into the divine self with our spirit. So that is the pathway. Very often, she's always depicted as this coiled serpent, but in those who are fully awake, she is depicted as the fully erected cobra that reaches through the spine, through the crown, beyond and above, and giving the person full radiance. We would call it they are fully awake, fully accomplished, fully enlightened. And the enlightenment is very often not what we think. The enlightenment simply is this being down here in this body is receiving the fullness of the light that the spirit is. That alone creates the rainbow body. That alone gives the person in connection with the divine self. Here, when we do these calls, we often speak about the importance of connecting with the divine self every single day. It is a little bit like brushing teeth. So I don't know, if you brush your teeth every day and you find the necessity for it, then there is the same, and of course much more, the necessity to every day connect with the divine self. The divine self can be simply contacted through these two pathways within the being. The number one pathway is always starting with love. That's why devotion goes a long way, but it is not complete in itself because it also requires certain alignment. In this case, we would call this alignment a vertical alignment. That means through the spine. So when we contact the divine self, there's a very easy way. You could be sitting, you could be standing, but you could also be laying down on your back in a completely straight posture. And through that, from that great love that you are, every day making some kind of contact with the divine self, the big boss of our being, the I am that I am, the Alpha and Omega within us, and allowing this connection to become the guiding energy for our existence. Every day, several times a day, once a day. Oren says even 30 seconds a day will be enough if that's all we have. And so without any pressure, because pressure is a contraction, we always want to be in the flow, in bliss, following the bliss that she is. This would be the ideal state of being, to always be awake, not ever asleep. For this serpent power, the shakti, to always be the one that is moving us in whatever direction is needed by her or by the spirit, of course, itself. So again, we just experience, I would say, the most powerful Guru Purnima that I can think of, and that just happened on the full moon that here in the US happened on July 10th. The peak happened on July 10th at 1:47 p.m. Pacific time, so 4:47 Eastern time. So again, New Zealand and Australia a day later. And this was an exceptional opportunity for humanity. During Guru Purnima, it is said that we can actually have a request, a desire, an intention on behalf of the collective of humanity that will be fulfilled through the gurus all the way to Divine Mother and Divine Father. And you know, as yogis, we follow certain processes. We chant the Guru mantra as much as we can. And of course, we have those great intentions for this world, for this realm, on behalf of all our brothers and sisters, including our animal queendom, and of course, our planet herself with all life. And so I would say that maybe many, many thousands of us in this world, if not millions, follow this incredible opening, this gateway, this portal that we call Guru Purnima, and that we do whatever practices we want to do. And so for me, the way that I experienced it, we went to Mount Shasta, the incredible, sacred, and powerful portal of Telos that many call the mountain Waika in Native American language. And so I spent the day in meditation, but also chanting the Guru mantra, which we will do here together. And the Guru mantra should be chanted at least, I think, 41 times. I did 3 hours on Guru Purnima, and my intention, which I believe is an intention that we all share, is that we end all separation in this world, and that this world again is returned to the hearts of love and the hands of love, and that we do experience this incredible frequency of comprehensive divine love within all of us, and that we again fall in love with life, all of us together, so that this world can be a world of the principles of the divine feminine, which means a world of love, caring, and deeply compassionate, supporting each other and everyone. So here is the Guru Mantra. Many of you are students of Swami Kaleshwar, and Swami Kaleshwar is in the same lineage as our beloved Yogananda. And quite miraculous things can be experienced with both of them, as both of them are fully available to humanity in this moment, guiding many, actually, I would say millions again of us every single day, whether we know it or not, into the heart of the mother and into the spirit of the father. And so I'm going to find a version of Guru Mantra that we have worked here before with, from Swami Kaleshwar. And we can sing together. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruvena Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruvena Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruvena Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruvena Namaha. So this is a beautiful version of Guru Mantra. I got it in, what is it called? iMusic. So it is an album which is the devotees of Sri Sai Kaleshwar singing, and the album is called At Baba's Feet. So when you received an invitation to this weekend, I wanted to do 4 different events. So we have 4 calls. I do one at 11 a.m., one at 5, and then on Sunday again, 11 and 5. So each one of them will be different with different practices, different meditations. I'm recording all of them, and all of them will be posted on YouTube, which I have not done for a while. And so that we can work with different tools here. Our goal again is to come together as an amazing collective that has worked together for such a long time, some of us even 5 years, which is a very long time in this planetary reality, always adding to the light. Now, our, I believe, collective work also is very helpful, because in this way we support each other to stay focused. And our focus right now is really important. In this world, right now, I mentioned that since the fall of the false matrix and since the piercing of the veil, we do have the serpents of darkness and serpents of chaos still trying to distract us in this world and to create chaos and to actually pull us into a lower timeline for our realm. Now, of course, it happens to all of us probably that this distraction might be very magnetic in a negative way and trying to actually take our attention away from what really is important and what really needs our energy. And that is staying focused on the light, on the work that we do, and to actually give no life force to the serpents of darkness and the serpents of chaos. How did the serpents of darkness and chaos came into being? If all came from the oneness, from one source, then we know that there was one frequency in this cosmic cycle, and that one frequency was not in tune. It simply is musical creation, all is sound, and so if one sound is dissonant, it also creates dissonant beings from itself. But in this cosmic cycle, we are experiencing and have experienced in this eternal now correction. And in this correction, everything is coming back into oneness of all life. This actually took place for us in measurable human time last year. And so this correction has taken place at a cosmic level. And so we are in a new cosmic design right now. We are in a cosmic design where all belongs to one cosmic source and one cosmic great mother, Maha Prakriti. So if you read, for example, Yogananda's Second Coming of Christ, you will still read about the pure nature and impure nature, as I would call it a little glitch that happened within the cosmic cycle and actually originated in the mother herself, in the Mahaprakriti. But that has been corrected. And the happy end is, or the new beginning, that no longer is there a source for impure nature. But this impure nature manifested in life force. And so what we would call the rainbows of the serpents of rainbow and the serpents of light, as we spoke about what we know as Kundalini, shakti within us, then when this shakti was actually impure nature, then she became tainted and became what we would call the serpent of darkness. But now is the time of the mother's return, the full-blown Mahaprakriti, the cosmic mother nature in her own oneness. She also is known as Sophia. Within the Gnostic tradition, the serpents of darkness could be known with many different names as the demiurge and also the archons. But again, this is a correction within Sophia. And Sophia, Shakti, whatever names we give her, Mahaprakriti, is now whole again. And so this is a big deal within the entire cosmos. So in this world, as we might still be dealing with these serpents of darkness, they no longer have a source, but they are not our enemies, even though they might seem like enemies. All now will be transmuted into the love light of Divine Mother, of Divine Father. And so our purpose is to stand in that light fearlessly in our Christ consciousness and always remembering that I am a child of God and I have nothing to fear. Life and death are only different processes of our consciousness. I feel that we are so fortunate to be living through this ascension, to be part of ascension. And this ascension is, of course, happening within us, where the serpent Shakti is rising, ascending through the body herself, becoming the spiral of evolution. But she's also doing the same thing within our planet as well. We've experienced the correction of the spine of the earth. And so now, instead of having a tilted spine, which of course tilted all of us, we are now erect again. And so she has a pathway that is straight, upright, and this pathway is known as the Tree of Life. We are in a new design of the Tree of Life, but not only that, the Tree of Life was corrected on 11/11 last year, and that actually happened in the Grand Canyon in Arizona, on the Hopi land, on the native land, and Navajo land, whatever land we want to call it. It is a planetary land. And so the tree of life itself is a really important design within actually creation, and that was corrected too. So what got corrected on Guru Purnima? On Guru Purnima, we experience an incredible correction within the matrix. The matrix is another word for a web. We could say that the divine matrix is a web of love light. And we could say the false matrix was the dark web manipulated by a dark weaver. And, I made so many videos about explaining who the dark weaver is and was and all of that. So we don't need to go into the detail of it. But now we are in the divine matrix again. And Guru Purnima shifted us fully into a new web, into the new divine matrix. Maybe if you're familiar with different native traditions, then you have heard about the spider grandmother. The spider grandmother was known by so many different native and aboriginal nations around this planet, of course. And there are so many different stories about the spider grandmother. The spider grandmother is a real being. It's the weaver of light, creating the web that we can also say is the grid. And the grid is not only limited to our planet, but the grid is actually an interconnected, universal, but also cosmic communication web through which love light is shared. This web, as it is within us, all around us, throughout the planet, around the planet, it goes through the universe and cosmos itself. It actually is the underlying oneness of all life, where all life is interconnected by this web. So the false matrix was like taking the web, breaking it, pulling it sideways, creating tears into it. And that's why so many of us felt that we came here to be grid workers. Many people traveled the world many times and they went to all these different portals and they were restoring the grid. Well, ascension is also about the renewal and restoration of the planetary grid so that it can again fit into the universal grid and become again intact, so that love light and what we would call divine information can flow through all equally. So there is no disconnect. So we are returning to this underlying oneness of all life by this grid, by this web. And so the weaver now, since this Guru Purnima is again the weaver of light, and again we can call her our ancient grandmother, the spider grandmother. I wanted to show you a little video that actually is very powerful. It's a Native American message to humanity. Let me just go here. It's about 7 minutes, and it is the declaration of spirit. Everything in creation has a frequency. For example, the frequency, so the sound of our weaver of light, our spider grandmother, she does have a frequency. And for us, this frequency might be very familiar, especially if you have memories that go to the beginning of existence on planet Earth. Her frequency is mu, M-U. I often think that that is the reason why cows were considered to be sacred, because they make the sound of moo. So mu, M-U, or M-O-O, I always experience it as M-U, is the frequency and vibration of our grandmother, the weaver of light, the weaver of, yeah, and I saw that there was a crop circle that looked like a spider. It's pretty incredible. It was Divine Mother who taught us, and to me it was a big surprise when she taught us that actually crop circles are her sign language. So many people, right, they wonder, what are the aliens? Who are the aliens who are making the crop circles? But she told us, I think it was around 2017, that crop circles are her sign language. So we do need to pay attention to crop circles to understand, to try to understand or feel, what is she telling us? What is she trying to express to us? And so the vibration of the Great Spirit could be also perceived as the sound that is known by, again, many different native nations as Wakan Tanka. So when we listen deeply in our meditation, we might hear these different sounds. So I'm going to play this video. It's about 7 minutes, and the video itself is from 2012, but it is very much still relevant for this present moment.
Abojo nigani akin and this nikaski don't do them sagging don't you ba. Our recent gathering of the indigenous wisdom keepers, a message evolved from the elders, and they titled the message a declaration to spirit, and I would like to share it with the rest of the world. Out of the lodges of our peoples, we are being told we have entered a time of great change and opportunity. The cougar, moose, and eagles recently came into the community in the sagging territory where the gathering was to take place, and asked us to speak on their behalf about what was happening to the land. Supported by the grandfather drum, the gathering of indigenous wisdom keepers sends this urgent and prayerful message to the world. We are the original free and independent peoples of Turtle Island, extending back to the beginning of time and spirit. In keeping with our original instructions given to us by the Creator, we have a sacred responsibility to our ancestors and our future generations. We also have a ceremonial responsibility to the waters and to our traditional lands and territories for the sake of Mother Earth and all living things. Everything has a spirit. Spirit is the life force of every human being and lasts forever. When we rise in the morning, we acknowledge the sun as a way of honoring and celebrating the spirit of life itself. Our spirituality is our life. Our traditions contain the knowledge and wisdom accumulated by our ancestors and contained in our languages. It is one of our teachings that the beauty of nature is the face of the Creator and results in our deep and abiding love for the land and water. Water is life. As humans, we are born through the water of our mother, and the women are responsible for the waters of Mother Earth. An acknowledgement of the sacred feminine is critical to the transformation needed at this time. It is one means of ending the epidemic of violence by men against women and the neglect and abuse of children, which is destructive to our families, communities, and nations, and detrimental to our future generations. These symptoms are the result of a human spiritual disconnection from the land and from the healing comfort and beauty of Mother Earth. Now is the time to come to the understanding that we cannot respect the future without respecting what makes the future and what makes the future possible, specifically our women, and our children. Our healing wisdom and traditions continue to live on, carried and taught by our elders, who are precious to us. Without the kindness and the compassion of our elders, we would not be able to carry out our spiritual way of life and our ceremonies, through which body, mind, spirit, and heart are fully connected. Through our songs and ceremonies, sacred fires, and our prayers, and prayer bundles, and the original instructions of our sacred laws, we are continually reminded that all life is interconnected and that all the colors of the human family and all forms of life are relatives. As a result of the suppression of the cultures of our ancestors, the modern world has been prevented from understanding the wisdom to be gained from our ceremonial-based cultures and our earth-centered traditions. Our children need to be returned to the center of our families, communities, and nations. By mentoring our children, supporting the rites of passage for young men and women, we affirm our sacred balance, health, and well-being. Because of the thousands of years of experience with spirit, the First Nations and peoples of Turtle Island have unique gifts to share with the world for healing what has been wounding the human spirit. The answer that every human being is looking for is within the spirit in each and every one of us. We have always acknowledged that spirit is a very significant element of our life. Spirit defines who we are. We are all bound by spiritual and natural laws. How can we collectively connect with spirit? Acknowledging spirit and showing our gratitude. Join us on June the 21st, 2012 to fulfill our responsibility to honor all spirit and all life. We invite people throughout the world to join us on that day by making an offering of water to Mother Earth with thoughts of love and thankfulness. This sacred act will invoke the Spirit to guide us to a good life and will let Mother Earth know we have not abandoned her.
So that was a wonderful message. And even though it was 2012, we are still in the same process of ascension, where spirit, it is the most significant aspect of our lives. And spirit is the divine self. Spirit is the I am presence. Spirit is our Alpha and Omega. And spirit is the luminous sun that is actually part of our ascension tube, which is our spine. And that's why every day, every day we want to connect with the highest of the highest within us. And that is our divine self. So what I also found so inspiring is that there is such an important part that we can play, and that is to be of service, to fulfill our responsibility, to honor all life, Mother Earth, all her life, by offering her the sacred waters with thoughts of love and gratitude, and also to co-create ceremonies in which we offer our prayer bundles, which some of you experienced, for example, when we worked with Don Umberto at Mount Shasta. So because we've received so many emails about our events with Mount Shasta, at Mount Shasta with Don Umberto, I just wanted to say that we have just about 6 spots left. And so if you do want to join us, please email us and I will send you the link where you can read more information and to decide if you want to join us. And with that, we will continue, not repeat, but continue today at 5 p.m. Pacific, where we will be working with a meditation, with transmission with Orin to receive and transmit divine love into this world. And tomorrow we will be working with an invocation from Patricia Cota Robles, where we will be again connecting with this new frequency of comprehensive divine love. And we also have another purpose and mission and task, and that is to be connecting with the star energies. And so we will be doing that tomorrow as well. So thank you so much for being here once again in this world, emanating your light and love into this new divine matrix, the new web that we are co-creating. Many blessings to all.